Settling into your space as you're ready. It can be nice to have a cushion or just a little something underneath your bottom to give you that little bit of a lift. Letting the hands settle and rest down wherever's most comfortable. And then as you feel ready, allowing your eyes to soften and settle, maybe allowing them to close. Starting that process of feeling the body settling down towards the earth. Just noticing any parts of our body that we can allow to soften, allow to let go. Just sinking into the solid support underneath us. As we feel ourselves settling down into our points of contact, whatever parts of us are touching something underneath us. Our awareness beyond our physical bodies, down into the earth underneath us. Reminding ourselves that this earth is all connected. Settling here into the same earth, the same points of contact. As we begin our collective time together, just acknowledging the traditional owners of the land that we're on, where I'm filming, where a lot of us will be tonight, is the lands of the Wotjobaluk, the Jadwa, the Jadwajali, the Upper Gulf and the Wagaya people. Honoring their history, their people, their culture, as well as the history, the people, the culture of yoga that's traveled through time here to us, right here, right now, in this present moment. And so as you start to notice your breath coming and going, with each exhale, can we allow ourselves to soften just a little bit more down towards the earth? Can we acknowledge any discomfort that we bring with us to this time? Maybe for you it's physical discomfort. Maybe there's some niggles, some tightness you can notice and are aware of in the body. Maybe there's some mental or emotional discomfort going on for you tonight. Thoughts or feelings around anything that is giving you that sense of discomfort. And can we allow whatever those discomforts are for you to just be there alongside you? You don't have to push them away or stamp them down. There's room for that discomfort sitting with us. When we acknowledge that discomfort, can we also create space for a different experience as well? If you're experiencing physical discomfort in the body, can we create space to notice parts of the body that are feeling really great and moving really well? If there is a mental and emotional discomfort, we acknowledge those thoughts, those feelings, those emotions, but also be curious about what else we're feeling, what else we're thinking at the same time. And so throughout this session together, I invite you to explore whatever arises for you, knowing that we are physically safe. And create space for that discomfort to sit with us. Perhaps also be curious about what else there is. Let's just take 2 or 3 more smooth, steady breaths. Sitting with ourselves just as we are. And then when you're ready, let's make our way over onto all fours. Coming onto hands and knees, popping any props out of the way. And from this position, can we find cat and cow with our breath? So inhale to arch the back up tall, pushing the floor away. Exhale, allowing the belly, the chest to soften a little towards the floor, finding that length through the front of the body. And so moving with your breath, that inhale to arch up, and exhale to gently arch down. Once you've found that rhythm with your breath, perhaps exploring different positions for the hands. So maybe stepping the hands as you flow with your cat and cow, pointing the fingers in different directions. Making sure whichever way the fingers point, we've got a really firm connection through the hands. Building some strength, warming up the wrists here. You don't have to necessarily point the fingers in the same direction. You could turn them differently. You could even flip one hand over onto the back of the hand if that feels okay for the wrist. Taking a few rounds with that flow. And then bringing our hands back to their typical position, the index or the middle finger pointing straight forwards. We'll have a little flow back to child's pose. So our inhale will bring us up. With our exhale, can we draw the hips back towards the heels, but keep that right angle with the wrists so the hands and the palms start to lift off the floor as we ease back. And then coming back up, inhale back to all fours, grounding strongly through the whole of each hand. Exhale, as we come back with the hips, can we peel the fingers and the palm up off the floor, keep the bottoms of the hand connected. Just a few times through that movement, you might find it's really challenging to get the hands to stay at that right angle. Building some strength across the top of the hands, the back of the wrists. One more time through with your breath. This time, as we set back up with our hands and all fours, can we take some wrist push-ups? So we press into the whole of each finger and lift the palm only off the floor and then lower down. So pressing the whole of each finger stays on the floor, just lifting the palm as much or as little as you need to take intensity away from the wrists. Walk the hands back towards the knees, take more weight through the hips. To increase the intensity, walk the hands further forwards, shift the shoulders over the wrists, more like moving towards a plank position. That's going to make it more challenging to lift the wrists. So finding that best option and just taking two more. And then let's roll out the wrists one at a time. So just lifting one hand, making a fist, a bit of a roll, some movement through the hand. The other side, releasing some tightness or tension through the back of the hand there. From there, we'll come into our tiger curls. So taking the right leg long, starting with just the toes tucked under, feeling that stretch down the back of the leg. Committing to that strong connection to the floor, pressing down through everything that's in contact with the floor. Maybe you keep the right toes on the floor, or maybe you lift them anywhere up to hip height. You might keep both hands on the floor, or you might reach long with the left arm. And any of these positions can be our extended position. So inhale, we come into this version, whatever's working for you. Exhale, we curl in the right knee, drawing towards the chest. Maybe taking the left elbow and or the nose in towards the knee. So inhale, extending out long. And exhale, that curl in. Maybe a bit of a round of the spine here, arching up a little to create space for the leg. Finding that smooth, steady breath. Let's take two more on this side with whatever version is working for you. Then releasing back to all fours, maybe finding some circles with the hips or the shoulders, maybe a cat or cow here. And as you're ready, we'll reset, taking the left toes back, extending the leg long, feeling that stretch through the calf, the hamstrings on the left-hand side. Do you stay here or do you lift that foot? Do you keep both hands down or reach the right arm forwards to shoulder height? Using the physical sensations in the body, particularly the back here, And using that smooth, steady breath to gauge whether this is the best option for you, knowing you can adjust at any time you need. Let's inhale in this extended position. Exhale, we curl in, left knee drawing towards the chest. We arch the back up a little. You might draw that elbow in as well if you're moving with the right hand. You can take this to whatever degree you need tonight. Let's take 2 more rounds here. That last squeeze in towards the chest. Releasing back to all fours, a bit of movement here. And then we'll take some twists. So planting with the right hand. Inhale, the left arm draws out and up. Exhale, we thread that left hand through between the right hand and the right knee. So taking a few rounds like that, inhale to lift and open, twisting the chest to the left. Exhale, curling through, the chest gently rotates towards the right. Let's take 2 more like that. And then the next time you come through, as we weave that left arm through, we can release the back of the arm to the floor. The left shoulder, the left side of the head can come down as well. The right hand might stay right where it is, or it might reach up towards the ceiling. Maybe it tucks all the way around towards the left side of the hips. Making sure wherever you are, you can breathe smoothly. You can change whatever you need to find that smooth, steady breath. You tune into any physical sensations here. Listening to that breath coming and going. 1 more full round. And then let's unravel. Bring that right hand back to the floor, pressing up to all fours. And we'll take that in the other direction now. So planting the left hand firm. Right hand reaches out and up, inhaling. And exhaling, curling through. Just finding that flow, that rhythm with your breath. Maybe tuning into what you notice as you inhale. What changes as you exhale. 1 more full round here. Threading that right hand through. And then finding that release down towards the floor with the arm, the shoulder, and the head. And always add something under the head if it feels like it's too far away. And then taking that arm, that resting arm, wherever it needs to be, whether it's the left hand flat on the floor, reaching up or tucking over away behind. Can you still breathe smoothly here? Let's take 2 more breaths. And then gently unraveling. Pressing back up. Bring back to all fours. And let's find our child's pose here. Let's take the knees a little wider. Big toes to touch as we sit the hips back. The chest drawing down towards the floor, taking the hands wherever's most comfortable, whether that's outstretched underneath the head or wrapped around behind. Now, as always, you can add in the support behind the knees or in between the feet for a little bit more support if you feel like your joints need it. As we settle here with our breath, perhaps just checking back in with any discomfort that you noted at the start of our time together. And trying to remove any shoulds from our thinking about this discomfort and just allowing it to be as it is. Perhaps noticing whether it's still there for you or it's changed in some way. Has it been present for you, or have There's other feelings, thoughts, sensations, being able to sit alongside it. Let's take 1 or 2 more breaths here, sitting with whatever is there for you. And then gently making our way back up to all fours. Finding our first downward dog, tucking the toes under, pressing into the hands and the feet to take the hips up high. Pressing the chest back towards the thighs, a soft bend in the knees. And perhaps pedaling the feet here, the right heel extending towards the floor, the left knee bending. And then swapping it over, right knee bending, left heel reaching down towards the floor. Just a back and forth a few times. And then walking our hands back towards our feet, the soft bend in the knees as we transition into our standing forward fold. Belly and thighs meet together here with a softness in the knees. Maybe you hold onto the floor or the legs some way. And then let's roll up to stand, bending a little, pressing strongly through both feet. The arms could hang long or they could walk up the body here. Arm curling at the top, rolling the shoulders up and open. And making your way to the front of your space. So sitting both feet firm about hip width apart. Find that best place for the hands, whether the palms are in towards the body or out in front, reaching up tall through the spine. And that strong support through the feet. As we draw the crown of the head up tall. Let's take 1 more breath here. And inhale, reaching both arms out and up. Holding on to the right wrist. Exhale, let's extend, lengthen over towards the left. Inhale back to center. Swapping the hands over to the left wrist and then exhale, extend over to the right. Let's go once more to each side with your breath. Feeling that length down the side of the body on the outer edge of that bend. And let's find our gentle back bend here, releasing the hands, palms facing forwards. Arms in line with the ears, taking the gaze up to the top of the wall in front and engaging the bottom here. See if we can squeeze the glutes. Maybe you stay right here or maybe start to lift the chest bone just that little bit higher up, making sure you can breathe wherever you've ended up. Can you find a smooth, steady breath? One last inhale here. Exhale, coming upright, bending the knees, and let's fold belly to thighs as we bring the hands down for our forward fold. As the hands rest, whether it's on the floor or the legs, can we feel that squeeze of the thighs and the belly in together? Really helping to support our lower back. If we can find those slower, deeper abdominal breaths, it can also give us a bit of nice pressure against the abdomen. Let's take 1 more breath here. Looking at the feet, and let's step the right foot straight back from where it is, bringing the knee down, finding our low lunge. The low lunge, maybe the hands rest on the floor, or you might come up onto the thigh. Just finding that strength first of all. Can we really anchor down through this front foot, through the back lower leg, and that nice stretch through the front of the right thigh. And then we can find lizard lunge. So from that position with the hands either side of the front foot, we bring the left hand around inside the front leg and we squiggle this front foot over to the left a little bit. From here, working between squeezing the knee in towards the upper arm and then releasing the knee out to the side as far as it's okay for you to go. And that front foot can roll onto its outer edge. Then we draw back to center, bring the foot flat, that leg squeezing in towards the arm, and then releasing out again. So finding a rhythm with your breath. Feel the way that leg squeezes, engages, and draws in. And then give it a break as we ease out to the side. So we're not pushing the edge of our range of movement as we move out to the side. We're just rolling to give a bit of a different sensation before we squeeze in again. And then one more time, taking out to the side. We'll stay for a few breaths with that squeeze this time. Just taking a mental note of the way the arm engages into the leg and vice versa. We're going to come back to this in a different shape later on. So just take note of the way the knee squeezes in towards the arm. And then from here, we'll come back to plank. So bringing that left leg around, finding your plank position, shoulders over the wrists, hips a little forward from the knees. And we're going to take some scapular push-ups tonight. So with the arms staying as they are, we allow the chest to drop a little towards the floor as the shoulder blades wing together. Then pressing strong into the hands, we separate the shoulder blades, arching the middle back up towards the ceiling. So just moving that movement backwards and forwards. The chest draws down, the shoulder blades wing together. We press into the floor. In between the shoulder blades lifts up and the shoulder blades separate away from each other. It's a small unusual movement and it's quite hard to translate through the screen, but hopefully you're getting a little bit of a feel. Making sure you're breathing through this movement. And then let's take one more breath with the movement. And then staying in that lifted position, keeping the middle of the shoulder blades really arching up towards the ceiling. Let's take one more breath here. And then tucking the toes, let's ease the hips back, seeing if we can create that lift with the fingers and the palms again, like we did near the start of our session. That active hands, active fingers. And then when you're ready, squeezing the hands into a fist and letting them rest down towards the floor. You can keep them in that fist or stretch the fingers out along the floor this time. Let's arch our way forwards and coming all the way down to the mat this time, whether it's through a push-up shape or you walk the elbows down one at a time. Engaging the bottom to press the front of the hips into the floor, pressing the top to the feet, finding our sphinx pose, elbows under shoulders. As we breathe here, what sensations are there for you? Can you feel a bit of a flow with a feel in the lower back? If you're not feeling a whole lot and you'd like a little more, we can push into the hands and lift the elbows. Letting the shoulders stay down away from the ears and maintaining that smooth, steady breath. Let's take one more smooth, steady breath. Breathing in here. And our out breath, let's roll, release down to the floor. And then find our downward dog, pressing strong through the hands. Coming up, taking the hips high, that strong connection through the hands. And bringing enough of a bend into the knees so we're pushing the spine long. Finding our smooth, steady breath here. As we're in our downward dog here, just taking a moment or two to notice where the discomfort begins in this pose. Downward dog is sometimes considered a resting pose. I would strongly argue against that. There's an awful lot going on for our bodies. So just seeing for you where you feel the intensity start to build. Is it the connection through the hands and the shoulders? Is it the sense of stretch in the back of the legs? Is it some discomfort associated with the head being lower than the heart? Just to see if we can continue our breath and gently acknowledge what that is for you. Take one more smooth, steady breath here. And then we're coming into our lunge with the right leg forwards. So you can take a big lift with the right leg and sweep it through. You can bring the left knee down and step the right foot forwards. However you need to get there, we all arrive in the same place. The right ankle under the right knee, the hands down on the floor or maybe up on the front thigh. Just helping us connect into the strength of our low lunge, pressing down through the feet. Feeling into that length in the front of the left thigh here. And then we'll meet down in our low lunge with the hands on the floor. Turning it into that lizard lunge. So the right hand this time coming around inside the right knee. That little bit of a squiggle of the right foot over a touch to give us that space. And then working with those options. So the right knee squeezes into the arm or the shoulder and then releases a little bit of a roll, a rock out to the side. So moving backwards and forwards with a rhythm with your breath. Again, paying particular attention to the way that knee connects into the outside of the arms here. And that strong connection through the hands. Taking one more round through with the breath. As the leg squeezes into the outer arm, this time staying here for a breath or two. And we keep that squeeze in while we're breathing. And then we'll gradually make our way up to our standing forward fold. So we bring the right arm back around the outside of the leg. Lifting the back knee, taking a little bit of a rock. A few steps or a big step back up to the front of your mat. Feet hip distance apart. Belly and thighs together. Gaze down at the floor or maybe away behind you if it feels comfortable to relax the top of the head down. You can find a bit of softness in the neck by just nodding yes a few times gently forward of that. And then a gentle no, just slowly, gently swiveling the head side to side. Let's come up with a strong spine this time. Bending the knees, the bottom drops behind, looking forwards and driving up through the feet. Following with the arms up overhead. And then arriving with our hands back down in front of our heart. And that smooth, steady breath as you settle into the stillness, settle into this upright position again. As I often like to, at the end of our salute to the sun, just pausing here, seeing if we can find gratitude for our discomfort. It's quite countercultural. We don't often acknowledge or celebrate the things that we find difficult. Doing that as we learn to sit with these non-life-threatening forms of discomfort. This is really good awareness of our body and our mind. Gives us the ability to approach things with curiosity rather than judgment. And this can be a really liberating practice for the way that we live our life. If you can find that sense of gratitude, let's take another breath or two, drinking that in. You're seeing the hands as you feel ready, maybe a bit of a squeeze of the hands as well, the wrists, what do you feel like you need as we release? Beautiful work. All right, so from the front of our space, we're going to come into a knee lift. So bringing the body weight over to the left foot, stepping the right toes forwards. The toes can stay touching down or they can lift, really engaging the core, drawing the spine up tall. So wherever feels best for you. And this is going to be our inhale position. As we exhale, we start to tilt the body forwards, extending the right leg long behind. Maybe you touch down with the toes. Maybe you lift into this aeroplane on the angle, or maybe you tilt forwards more towards our warrior three, parallel with the floor. So inhale brings us forwards and up into our knee lift. Exhale, we extend that right leg back, finding our aeroplane or a variation of. Finding that flow with your breath. Perhaps after a few rounds, if you feel that intensity building, just gently acknowledge where that is for you. It might perhaps be in the standing leg, those stabilizing muscles. You might find it's in the knee lift or that extension behind. You might find it's in the sense of balance more than the strength component. Let's take one more here, one more round with your breath, to whatever degree works for you. As you extend behind, let's touch down as softly and gently as we can, taking that right leg behind us. We're going to turn this into a warrior two. So our back foot's going to spin around and we're going to twist our upper body open to the side of our space. We've got our left knee over our left ankle here, really pressing down strongly, firmly with both feet. From here we can bring our arms out at shoulder height. And you might keep the gaze over these left fingertips. We're just going to take a gentle flow with the hands. So inhale, drawing the palms to face up. Exhale, tilting them to face back down again. Really simple movement. Just noticing the way that this hand gesture supports our breath. Let's take one more round here with our breath. And then from here we'll find our triangle pose. So we straighten the front leg. We don't want to lock out the knee. We've still got a gentle bend. It's like someone's pulling us forwards from our left hand. And then we wheel down. So the left hand can be on the top of or in front of the thigh, on top of or in front of the shin, or the same with the foot, on top of or in front of the foot. Whichever option you're taking, make sure it feels good for the back, it feels good for the breath. This right hand can extend up tall or we can bring it to the hip. And we're trying to peel the chest open towards the side wall, so we're not collapsing down towards the floor, really rotating and lifting this top shoulder open and making sure we can breathe here. Let's see if we can stay for two more smooth, steady breaths. And then let's bend into the bottom knee, the front knee rather, pressing into the whole of the foot and driving up tall. Then we're going to reverse out. So we're going to pick up and rotate our back foot and step back up to the front of our space. Again, a pedal here, maybe a roll release through the shoulders. And then we'll do that same process on the other side. So bringing our weight over to the right foot this time. The left toes come forward, maybe the knee lifts. We inhale here. And then exhale, finding that variation. Body tilting forwards, left leg extending behind. Toes down, toes lifted, maybe tilting all the way forwards. So finding that flow, inhale to draw up. Exhale to extend back. With that extend back, can we focus on having the body and the leg in one long line? So it doesn't matter what angle that line is on. Really reaching tall through the crown of the head. And extending long through the heel behind us. So maybe a bit of a pull of the toes towards the left knee. What sensations, what challenges, what discomfort arises for you here as we take our next few rounds. One last time through this sequence. As we extend away behind us, touching down as gently, softly as we can, and then turning it into a warrior two. So the left foot spins around, we face the left side of our space. This right knee anchors really firmly over, the right knee anchors over the ankle. We extend the arms out wide, bring our gaze over our right fingertips. And then again, can we find that really gentle flow, the inhale to twist up, exhale twisting down. How does the palms facing up support this idea of spaciousness, of those big deep breaths? How does the palms facing down reinforce this strength, this connection through the feet? Let's take one more smooth, steady breath. Next time the palms are facing down, let's move towards our triangle pose. Lengthening through the front leg, pulling gently with the right arm, and then tilting down. And just taking that hand wherever it falls. It doesn't matter how far down the leg it is. That left arm can extend up tall or come to the hip, as long as we've got this left shoulder gently easing open. Can you feel yourself drawing long through the crown of the head, the spine really long and spacious here? Let's find our smooth, steady breath for two more rounds. And bending into the front knee, pressing through the front foot to draw us back upright. And let's step around back up to the front. Bringing ourselves up, planting the feet comfortable distance apart, maybe a little bit of a spin side to side here. And from here, we're going to explore crow pose tonight. I'm going to demonstrate 2 different versions of crow pose, and then I'll come and watch closely, so hopefully I can give you, a few sort of cues to support you in whichever version you're taking. So if you're familiar with crow pose, whether you did it with me on Monday or you've done it before and you want to jump straight in and explore, go for it. You'll just have a bit longer to have a play. Those of you that want to watch, just maybe grab a comfy seat for a few moments. I'm going to show you one version that's the traditional hand balancing version, and then one version that's upside down that still works a lot of the same muscles, but it takes the balance component out and it takes a lot of the pressure out of the wrists and the shoulders. So I'll do my best to talk through it as we go. And I'll talk through the cues again, so don't feel like you've got to remember it all, but I'm just going to talk through it gradually. So for the typical traditional crow pose version, we bring both feet close together and we crouch down, taking the knees out wide. We plant our hands quite close to the body. If you go too far away from the body, you're going to have to jump into your crow pose and it's really hard to find the balance. So come quite close underneath the shoulders. We wrap the knees around the outside. So remember that lizard lunge? I was talking about that mental picture of squeezing the legs in towards the arms. That's what we're picturing here. You can also think about a child's pose, how our knees sort of wrap around the outside of our body. Planting the hands really firm. We take the hips as high as we can. It really helps our body weight find the balance. I should have mentioned, if you're worried about falling on your face, can happen, as some of us found out on Monday night. It's not a very far fall. It generally doesn't hurt very much. But if you feel like having a pillow underneath you for support, feel free to grab that. We take the hips up high. We squeeze strongly into the arms. And we start to tilt forwards, pressing strongly through the hands. If we take the gaze further forwards, it helps bring our body weight forwards as well. And then you might find you can get to that point where you can lift one foot and just have a play, see what that feels like. Maybe you want to try lifting the other foot. Maybe you get to a point where you feel like you can lift both feet, finding that gentle balance and lift here. You might stay for a millisecond. You might find you get a bit of a sense of that float. Really pressing strong through the hands and thinking about those scapular push-ups. So when we were drawing the shoulder blades up away from each other, really arching up to create that strength. So that's option 1. Option 2 is exactly the same shape, but on our backs. So we come to lie down. We take our arms up above as if we're pressing onto the ceiling, and then we wrap our knees around the outer arms. We squeeze the knees into the arms and the arms into the knees. See if we can roll the tailbone up off the floor with our smooth, steady breath. Maybe you leave the head down for support for the neck, or maybe you reach the head and the chest up, really engaging with your breath. If you're taking this upside down version, stay for 3 or 4 breaths, release down, and then have a rock side to side or a hug of the knees. It's very similar strength work, they're just slightly different challenges. I'm just going to come closer so I can hopefully see a little bit. Just make sure if you're playing on your hands with that balance, you've got a slight bend in the elbows, which just making sure we're not locking out the elbow joints. And if you bring your gaze a little bit further forwards in front of you, I know it's scary because it feels like you're going to fall on your face, but it does help shift our body weight just a little bit forwards. So taking one more round through, if you're on your back, one more lift and squeeze with that smooth, steady breath. If you're on your front, maybe one more round of balance here. And then gently releasing. So perhaps if you're on your back, a hug and a rock of the knees. If you're on your front, you might want to sit down and just take a roll of the wrists, catch your breath here.
Just reconnect in with those smooth, deep breaths for a moment. And then when you're ready, find a place where you can rest really comfortably and just let the eyes perhaps close. Taking a moment to reflect on the discomfort in that pose. It would be safe to assume, I think, that most of us experienced some form of discomfort in that pose. And see if you can identify for yourself where the major source of discomfort was. Perhaps it was a physical aspect of the pose, whether it was the balance, the strength. Perhaps it was remembering to maintain that connection to breath. Perhaps there was a mental, emotional component. Perhaps we started telling ourselves some stories about what this pose would look like, or our capacity to achieve something we thought we should. So for the next breath or two, seeing if you can allow that discomfort to be present. This discomfort is not wrong. Can we perhaps get curious about an alternate story, an alternate experience, or a complementary experience that can go alongside this discomfort? And perhaps taking the opportunity to have another go at our crow pose, whether you choose the same variation or a different variation. Just approaching it knowing that discomfort is okay, creating that space around the discomfort to sit with it. So finding that option for you, whether you want to come back into that crouching position, hands planted strongly, or whether you want to come onto your back and try that reclining version, the hands planted on this as if they're planted on the ceiling above us. That strong connection between the knees and the arms. That sense of rounding and space between the shoulder blades. And that smooth, steady breath. If you're trying that balance, that inversion, perhaps taking that gaze just a little further forwards. And just finishing off that round that you're on. And then we'll all make our way down onto our backs. Actually, no, before we do so, we'll all stay seated or come up to seated. We'll just take some neck releases. That crow pose, I find, can bring some tension to the back of the neck. So we'll just explore a bit of a release for the neck before we come down. So finding a comfortable, supportive seat, let's draw the chin down towards the chest, interlacing the hands and placing them gently on the back of the head, letting the elbows rest down towards each other here. As we inhale, we just let the gentle weight of the hands draw the head down. We're not pulling or forcing. As we breathe out, we press the head back into the hands. Again, just enough to feel a stretch. The head barely moves. Inhale, softening the neck, the head draws down. Exhale, the head pressing back. One more time through with your breath. Bringing the hands around to the front of the face. Let's support ourselves back up. Perhaps a little bit of massage or release around the back of the sides of the neck. And then let's take that same pattern side to side. So we can extend the left arm long. The chin turns towards the right shoulder and tucks in. That right arm wrapping around the back of the head. Inhale again, that gentle weight of the hand just draws the head down. And exhale, we find that resistance, that little bit of a push back into the hand. 2 more rounds with your breath. Once you finish those rounds in your own time, again, supporting the head back up to center. And let's take it over to the other side, chin to left shoulder, tucking in, wrapping the left arm. And can we find that flow with the breath? The inhale to soften and relax. The exhale to press the head back. Just taking those rounds with your own smooth, steady breath. And then releasing, gently supporting. Let's come back up to center. Any last little massages, release with the fingers. And then we'll head down onto our backs. Just making your way down as you're ready. As we come down onto our backs, can we squeeze and hug the knees in? Maybe a rock side to side here. We'll turn over onto our right hand side, just rolling over onto your right. You might curl up that right arm underneath your ear, just providing a little bit of a cushioning for the head. We're aiming to line up our shoulders, our hips and our feet. So the legs just gently resting on top of each other, the knees bending forwards. You've got a nice solid base. We'll take some clam lifts from here. So just gently lifting and lowering the top knee with the feet stuck together here. Maybe leave the feet down on the floor, or you could lift both feet up off the floor and then lift and lower the top knee from there. If it feels like it needs a bit more intensity, that's an option to try. So both feet connected, either lifted or on the floor while that top knee lifts and lowers. That left hand can just rest on the floor in front of you, providing a bit of support. Or you can use it on top of the left hip, just to make sure you're not rolling open. You want to stay firmly on your right hand side with that movement just coming through the leg. Noticing perhaps some sensation through the glutes here. Relaxing through the jaw, through the breath for a few more rounds. Keeping the breathing rhythm nice and steady. And then relaxing that top leg down. Just taking a moment here, letting the whole right side of the body soften down into the floor. Then we'll take that same rhythm on the other side. So rolling over onto your left side. Setting up in that same way. Maybe the left arm curling under the head for support. The shoulders, the hips and the feet in one straight line. When you feel ready, finding those clam lifts, that top knee gently lifting and lowering to whatever degree feels right for you. With either both feet down on the floor or both feet lifted but still connected together the whole way through this movement. You could maybe use that right hand just to touch on the hip, a bit of an external reminder to keep the hips stacked, avoiding that temptation to roll open. Let's take 2 more smooth, steady breaths. And then softening that top leg down, letting the whole left side of the body sink and settle here. And then as we're ready, let's roll onto our backs. Planting the left foot flat, and let's extend the right leg up long. Maybe holding on to the back of the leg or the back of the knee here. Drawing the heel long up towards the ceiling, and then just pointing the toes, pulling the toes back towards the knee, just a few times pointing and flexing through the foot. Maybe you keep that left foot planted, or maybe extend the left leg long. You could connect it to the floor or hover it a couple of inches up off the floor. Pulling both sets of toes back towards the knees now, firmly connected to the floor from the hips up to the back of the head. Let's take a breath or two here, feeling that length in the back of the legs. Then we'll gently bend into both knees, planting the right foot flat, extending the left foot up tall this time. Holding onto the back of the thigh, the back of the knee. A few times back and forth with the toes, pointing and flexing. Just feeling into those sensations through the toes, the feet, the legs. And then maybe extending that right leg long again, whether it touches down on the floor or lifts a little. Both sets of toes pulling strongly back with our smooth, steady breath. Maybe feeling a little bit of the shakes here, just finding that breath, feeling that strong connection down to the floor. And then bending both knees, let's hug into the chest here. And then we'll take our twists, arms out wide. Let's plant the left foot and cross the right leg over. Shifting the hips that little bit to the right as we fold both legs away to the left. Maybe you stay looking at the ceiling, or maybe you gently ease the gaze away to the right hand. You find that smooth, steady breath here. Perhaps feeling that stretch, that release through the side of the body, the outer hip. And then let's bring it back to center and take it over to the other side. Hips to center, left leg over right this time. Shifting the hips a little bit to the left, and then both legs fold away to the right. We feel that strong connection through the head, the hands, the arms. Taking one more breath here. And then that release to center. Hugging, squeezing. Any last movements or adjustments you need to rest comfortably. And then finding your way to your comfortable resting place. Using any props or layers to support you here. As you settle down into your comfortable place, allowing the hands to find a comfortable place to settle, allowing the feet to gently soften and relax. And perhaps releasing with the breath here, a big full deep breath in. And a big sigh out. Perhaps repeating that process one more time. And as we settle into stillness, giving ourselves the space, the freedom to be human. We can allow our thoughts to come and go. Excuse me. Allowing our thoughts to come and go just as naturally as we allow our breath to come and go. We happen to be distracted or taken away by these thoughts. Gently noticing that that's happened. And kindly, gently shifting our focus back to our physical body here, settling down towards the earth. Back to the steady, gentle flow of our breath and our thoughts. Allowing space for discomfort, allowing space for other experiences as well. We take this time in stillness. And slowly we bring our awareness back to the space that we're in. Letting our breath gently flow in and out. And as you're ready, you might like to make some small movements with your body. Perhaps just wiggling the fingers and toes. As you feel ready, maybe stretching out long or curling up tight into a ball. And then when you're ready, making your way slowly, gently up to a comfortable seat. Settling back where we started, the support under the sitting bones, the legs, the feet. This gentle reach through the spine as the crown of the head draws up tall. To arrive, you might like to join me with your hands together in front of your heart. May we create this space to sit with discomfort anytime we need it. Knowing that we can be both and. We can be uncomfortable and whatever other experience comes along as well. Maybe approach this experience with curiosity, with acceptance, with love, both for ourselves and for those around us. My heart to yours, thank you so much for joining me. Have a really lovely evening. Thank you.